our first guest today is Crystal Woodman Miller. Crystal was a former student at the Columbine High School, where she survived one of the deadliest school shootings our nation has ever seen. She's been interviewed by national television news programs like the Today Show, Good Morning America, and many others. Now, let's take a look at her story.
April 20th, 1999 began quietly for Littleton, Colorado, a suburb of Denver, until two teenage youths, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold, entered Columbine High School and carried out a carefully planned assault against the school's staff and students. Traveling hallways and classrooms, the two attackers utilized high-powered assault weapons and improvised explosion devices to randomly wound 24 classmates and kill 12 others before turning the guns on themselves and taking their own lives. The community and the nation were stunned in disbelief and mourned the tragic and unexplainable loss. Yet, amidst the mourning, stories of faith and hope began to emerge. One student, Crystal Woodman Miller, survived the Columbine massacre by hiding under a small table in the library, clinging to her faith in God.
I want you to please join me in welcoming Crystal Woodman Miller. Crystal, welcome to Helpline.
Thank you so
and
much.
Thank you so much for being here with us.
Well, thanks for having
What
me.
an incredible story
Yes.
of God's grace. Tell me, what happened?
It was a normal day. You know, it was a seemingly normal day. I woke up as an ordinary 16-year-old girl with common 16-year-old thoughts on my mind. Hair, makeup, wardrobe, the test I forgot to study for, and of course the deep yearning to belong. I wanted to be somebody. That is what every high school student desires.
Right.
And for me, that came at a very high price. Most weekends you would find me partying, drinking.
Really?
Just trying, yes, absolutely. Just trying to fill that emptiness, that void that was in my life. And little did I know that when I woke up that morning.
So in the situation that you were in, you actually could have been a victim.
Oh, absolutely. I was in the library.
Because you weren't in the place with the Lord that you should have been.
Oh, absolutely. I was definitely going with the crowd. It was comfortable, and I just didn't know better. And I think I did, actually, but it was high school, and that's what everyone did, and that was the way to do it. So.
Had you a Christian background, come from a Christian home? Have you ever had an experience with the Lord prior to this?
I definitely would have said, if you said, Crystal, are you a Christian? I would have said, sure. We go to church on Christmas and on Easter, you know, but I didn't understand what a personal relationship with Jesus meant. I never read my Bible. I didn't pray. I didn't understand what that truly was. Yet I saw it lived out through people in my life, through my grandmother, through my family. I just saw, you know, and they began to put those little seeds in my life. And when I was under that table, all those things became very clear to me. And I saw the way that they were Jesus in skin to me. And so it was very real.
Take us back to that day.
Yes.
And tell us what was transpiring and how did you get under the table?
Yes. Myself and two of my friends, Seth and Sarah, chose to pass our lunch hour away in our school library. We had been in there probably 5 minutes when all chaos broke out in the school. A teacher came running in, just panic look on her face, and she said, there's guys with guns and bombs. They're shooting students. Get under your tables. And of course, initially, we thought it was a joke, some sort of senior prank. In my 16-year-old mind, nothing bad ever happened in Littleton, Colorado. And then quickly learned that the situation was much worse than we first thought, as I recognized a friend of mine. He came running in. He had been shot, blood soaking through his shirt, and it was too late to run or find a decent place to hide. All we could do was get underneath our 4-foot wooden tables, and the three of us did, fumbled around to get under there. My friend Seth grabbed my body, pulled me closer to himself, and he said, Crystal, I want you to know that I will take a bullet for you.
Oh, my.
And I was stunned. This meant that I was in grave danger, that I may never walk out of there alive. And so I cried out to God the best I knew how. All the distractions around me, I closed my eyes and tried to drown them out and say, God, if you're real, then get me out of here alive. I will serve you. I will give you my life. I will quit the partying, doing all of these things. Just give me a second chance.
So, God is the God of a second chance.
Oh, absolutely. He is indeed. I stand here because of him. There's no reason I should have walked out of that library alive, but after 7.5 minutes, I was right there in the midst of it. The boys stood above me, and I thought, this is it. At 16, I will die underneath of this table, and I braced for my death. And they began talking about how they ran out of ammunition, leaving our table, the only table, untouched that day.
And you came away with the sense that God did hear your prayers.
Oh, absolutely. And of course, in the days to follow were some of the darkest, most difficult days of my life.
Tell us about that.
I mean, it was difficult to even get out of bed. I struggled with just a laundry list of questions and wondering, why me?
Yeah.
I'm 16 years old, and why did I survive, and why didn't others? And it was really, I was looking for any sort of hope that I could grab onto, anything. I knew that I needed something if I was to survive, and so I continually cried out to God, and I said, God, I don't have the strength to get through this minute, this hour, this morning, this day, and I continue to just cry out to him.
Day after day.
Oh, day after day, minute by minute, most days. And he answered me with his love and with his presence, and it's, God has this amazing ability to wrap his hands around our lives and take all of the ashes and all of the pain and the hurt and bring about something beautiful for his glory. And that's exactly what he's done in my life. Thank you.
From that day till this, what's been happening in your life?
It's been such an adventure. When we truly surrender our lives to the trustworthy potter and we ask him to shape us and take us on this ride, we better hold on, buckle up our safety belts, because he's got something in store for us. And that's exactly what it's been. If you would have told me 7 years ago, you're going to travel, you're going to speak, you're going to write a book, at 23, I would have said, no way. I don't travel, I don't speak, I don't write. And here I am. The Lord has given me this platform at 23. I go into schools and I challenge kids in their character.
What do you say to them?
I get up there and I'm very vulnerable with my own story, but I just challenge them. I first of all let them know that they have value, that they have worth. We all want to know that our lives can amount to something.
But coming out of your teenage years in this circumstance, knowing the kind of lifestyle that you were living,
Yes.
do you think that that's really a major issue with young people today?
Absolutely.
That they don't feel like they have worth?
Absolutely.
And so anything goes?
Yes. I think kids are just searching for anything. And like I mentioned earlier, that fills up this emptiness in their lives. And they think that the world tells us it's money, fame, success, wealth, our looks, all of these things. But those things don't bring satisfaction.
We got a man coming on who's going to tell us in a moment that that's not where it's at.
Absolutely.
He made his millions.
Absolutely. And it's just amazing for me to know that I get to go and I get to speak to these kids and instill in them value and courage and boldness, and that I challenge them to live the life that they were truly intended to live, and in doing so, they will make a difference around the world.
Crystal, you wrote a book.
I did.
Marked for Life.
Yes.
Tell our young people viewing audience tonight, what do you mean by Marked for Life? I read through this book. It's an amazing story.
Thank you.
Why, God? Why?
Yes. And the hope, the overwhelming hope that comes through our circumstances, that no matter where you've been, what you've done, that God can take your life.
That's the important thing.
Yeah, absolutely. He can bring about the hope. When we draw near to Jesus.
We haven't gone too far.
No, absolutely. We draw near to the hope giver, Jesus himself. And by doing so, we no longer have to be marked by our past, by our decisions, by our regrets, by tragedy, by suffering. We can be marked by Jesus Christ himself. That we find our identity and our worth in him.
While you're watching Crystal and I and she's sharing this tremendous story. We want those of you that are out there today to know that Crystal's experience can be your experience.
Absolutely.
That what happened to Crystal in that moment of despair and in that moment when it looked like there was absolutely no hope and you didn't deserve any hope.
Right.
That's the wonderful thing about it is,
Isn't that amazing?
yeah, none of us out there deserve this kind of love, but God's love is unconditional.
Unconditional. Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Now, we want everybody to get your story,
Yes.
get your book. And Mrs. Cerullo, who's sitting right down there, stand up, sweetheart. And now, Teresa and I are going to celebrate in just a few weeks our 55th wedding anniversary.
Congratulations.
So it works.
Yay.
It really works. She read through this book and said to me, you got to tell everybody to go get it. So go quickly and get it. God bless you. You know what I think would be wonderful? I think if you would go to the phones and take one or two phone calls. Maybe there's some hurting young person out there that's right in the throes of making an important decision of which way to go with their life. And you have the answer.
Oh, I would love to pray with somebody.
God bless
Thank
you.
you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, Crystal Woodman Miller.